So what we'll do is we'll start with some meditation. And the theme, I guess, I'm going to be exploring is kind of inner and outer algorithms and exploring kind of like transforming the heart in a way and similarities maybe between some of the ways technology works, but mostly we're going to be talking about meditation and mindfulness. And the main kind of orientation of the mind, of the heart, and the style of practice I guess we're doing here is both calm and kindness. So we orient towards samadhi, concentration, and also metta, or loving kindness. So we'll just bring some of that into what will be a fairly simple meditation. And also recognizing that the content of what's happening in the mind is not as important really as the orientation of the heart. So that's really what we're focusing on cultivating here. And this is kind of at the heart of what mindfulness is. So just finding any way to sit that feels good for you. Feeling yourself connected to the cushion or the chair or the floor. And you can close your eyes if you like, or you can just kind of rest your gaze at the floor or in front of you, whatever feels supportive. And starting with this intention for the next 15 minutes to really just be here, to be settled into this space together. Setting down, having to do anything, having to go anywhere. Just allowing the mind and the body to fully arrive here. So we can take a few longer, slower, deeper breaths, if that feels good for you right now. Really inviting in whatever feels comfortable. There's this always gentle interaction with the breath where it's kind of happening on its own, but we can also influence it in subtle ways. So maybe just playing with that for a moment. How does the body want to be breathed right now? And we're allowing the thinking mind to just fall to the background, not pushing it away, not kicking it out of the room, but just gently setting it down and bringing our full awareness, our full attention to the body, the breath, and to direct experience. Softening the muscles of the face and the forehead. And really sensing into the center of the head. Can you soften from the inside out? Relaxing the muscles of the brain and the thinking mind. Even allowing the eyes to relax. And the jaw, letting the jaw just hang naturally, and the tongue. Almost visualizing all this mental energy just kind of pouring down into the body. Allowing the shoulders to fall back a little bit. Just can open up the chest. You can imagine that we're almost dangling from a string from the top of the head. Not yanking, but just gently dangling the body. Being as upright as is possible for you. And feeling the body relax around that upright spine. Feeling the weight of the upper arms, the lower arms, and the hands. And softening through the chest, the stomach, all the way down through the lower belly. Seeing if it's possible to really open into this lower half of the lungs a little bit, not forcing anything, but relaxing the muscles around it so it can naturally open up a little bit. Noticing how this little bit of belly breathing can help the mind connect downwards into the legs. Just for a moment, really noticing the points of contact again with the ground, with the earth. Breathing into the upper legs, the lower legs, and all the way down through the feet. And bringing the awareness to the whole body, so top of the head all the way to the bottom of the feet. And noticing where the breath is most predominant for you. And also a way of paying attention to the breath, which actually feels supportive for the mind. What helps the mind settle? And riding on that rhythm of the breath, just like waves in the ocean. And the most simple instruction can still be the most profound. Every time the mind wanders, just gently bringing it back. Exercising agency. Here, right now, just this. The great Thai forest teacher Ajahn Chah said only one book is worth reading, and that's the heart. So read yourself and not books. The truth isn't outside, and this world can be in a very feverish state. The mind can change from like to dislike with the feverishness of the world. But if we can learn to make the mind stay still, it will be the greatest help to the world. So stillness, just seeing how that lands in the mind and the heart, not as a command, but as an invitation. We're all here together. So inviting the mind to really fully arrive here with the body. central to this practice is noticing. So right now, just noticing what's happening in the mind. There's really no wrong answer. This awareness, it's always here, always happening. Don't have to produce it or manufacture it. Mindfulness is simply recognizing something which is already here and tuning the mind to that frequency of presence and also kindness. How we pay attention impacts the mind, impacts the heart, impacts the body. So maybe even bringing something to mind which evokes this quality of goodwill in the heart. This could be anything from a pet to even nature or a person you know and love. Bringing this person or creature to mind. And noticing how that impacts the heart, just that simple act. Can I bring the same attitude of goodwill that I offer the people I love to my own experience? And for these last few minutes, just offering this goodwill in all directions. These are the simple instructions of the Buddha. To the east, to the west, to the north, to the south, above and below, and to all as to myself. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. And may you be free. Just noticing this possibility for continuity of practice as we move into some discussion. And thank you for being here, for your practice, being in community together. And really what I'm going to be talking about today is transforming the heart. And I was inspired by this conversation we had last week about technology, how to interact with technology in ways that are skillful, that cause less harm. And I really appreciated what some people shared earlier at the beginning too, that like, the only thing I want in my algorithm is to not be on the phone or to be off, right? Boundary setting. But I was reflecting a lot afterwards, after our discussion last week, on some of the similarities between how these algorithms and technology work, how interacting with a feed shifts and changes that feed, and also how the Buddha taught that the mind works. It really gets to the heart of a lot of Buddhist teachings on karma, on wisdom and discernment, and the potential for transformation through paying attention and what is being fed. And the human mind is not a machine. And the aim here is really to point to the mind, to show the mind where there's this possibility for freedom. So briefly, how these algorithms work, which I'm sure most of people know, but just to go over it. Behavior is tracked, whatever apps are being used, material that you engage with, you share, you like, comment, and even maybe how long you're watching something. It's being observed in a way. And the more you engage with something, generally the more you will see of that kind of a thing. And conversely, the less you engage with something, the less you will see. So the algorithm learns, right? And there's also a possibility for pattern recognition. Patterns, even the way maybe I'm interacting with something. If I open Google and tend to click on the third thing down, it notices that. It notices patterns of mind. So I know this may seem unrelated to Buddhist meditation, but I'll get there. So one of the most central things or the elements of Buddhist teachings is that how you engage with your mind and the world around you, it shapes your experience. So this is the law of karma meaning action. And the Buddha taught that actually your actions are really the only thing that you own in this life. This body is born from nature, belongs to nature, will return to nature. Don't own other people, you don't really even own your things. But the one thing you truly have ownership, and that really, really matters, is your behaviors, your actions, and your thoughts. And in actions, there's great possibility. Mary Oliver famously said, "Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" And so I think the Buddha's teaching is similar to this, except for maybe the one precious life. He would say countless rebirths, probably, but
It's not as effective.
So the locus of action is in the mind and in the heart, and this is where freedom can happen, both collectively, individually. And so there's this really famous sutta from the Majjhima Nikaya, and this quote that many of you come here have heard me say before. But the Buddha said, "Whatever one frequently thinks or ponders upon, this becomes the inclination of the mind." So this is really why a lot of people often refer to the Buddha as kind of one of the original psychologists, noticing in a deep way how the mind works. And this is something that is still deeply true today. So getting back to the algorithm for a second, the more you engage with content, the more you'll see of it. And the same thing the Buddha taught, that what is happening in the mind every day is important, and that it matters, and that it will influence tomorrow and the next day, and it will influence people around you. And this is how the world is actually shaped, through collective actions. So for example, every time I get in my car, I get a little bit crazy. I don't know why, but it happens. I don't know if it's just a Detroit thing. I don't think it is. There's another side of me comes online. I get angry. I get stressed. I get way more aggressive than I am in any other area of my life. And so I was on the elevator, I think it was Monday morning, and someone else had already gotten on the floor above me in my building before I was leaving to go to work. And I think we must have both had this like Monday morning kind of look on our faces. So we got to the second floor, and this woman gets on, and she just looked at us, and she's like, all right, y'all, it's not going to be that kind of a day. She's like, we are going to get in our cars. We are not going to let these people get to us on the road. And she gave like the best pep talk in the world. And I just noticed, I was like, I don't know who this woman is, but it just completely changed the momentum of my day, right? Like, it's like 8:30 in the morning. This woman's like already on with it. So palpable shift. And I did an experiment when I was finishing my undergrad at this very hippie school that I was going to, where I was doing loving kindness meditation in the car for, God, probably 2 months. And I was doing like DoorDash and delivery jobs and things like that, which make you want to be in a rush. But instead, everyone that was driving by, may you be at ease, may you be at peace, may you be happy, may you be free. A little forced at first. But over time, I started to watch what was happening to my nervous system. I started to kind of look forward to getting in the car because it became where I was practicing. And I'm glad I'm saying this because it's something I can remember to do now. And I highly recommend it. And see how that transforms, wishing people well, even the people that are speeding past you, even the people that are cutting you off. So, thoughts having influence. This is why phrases are often used for loving kindness to help evoke that quality of the heart. And so, we don't control every thought that comes into the mind. There's a lot of other things that impact that. Past experiences, there's external forces. But there is this influence and a sense of agency in the present moment with how the mind responds to what's happening. So the above quote, whatever one frequently thinks or ponders upon, this becomes the inclination of the mind. So this is from after the Buddha's awakening, enlightenment, and was reflecting back on how he came to this realization, to nirvana, to liberation. And he said what he did is he sat down and began to watch what was happening in his mind. And he said over time, he realized he could basically put things in one of two baskets. Either unskillful, thoughts of ill will, of craving, of cruelty, and skillful, thoughts of simplicity, renunciation, goodwill, harmlessness. Do these feel familiar to anybody? No? Yeah. I feel like there's so many days where I wake up, or for whatever reason, I'm feeling motivated, and I'm feeling good, and I'm feeling kind to others. And there's so many other days where I wake up feeling overwhelmed and such low self-worth and such hopelessness. And I think it's similar. I'm noticing similar patterns even with technology in the ways that I engage in it. And that some days I'm like reading motivating quotes and like lifting other people up and encouraging people. And then some days I'm interacting with it and it's just trash. And I'm just reading pointless comments of people fighting with each other for no reason, right? And it's just rotting my brain, literally. And so these ups and downs, this is just human life to some degree. And it's not about trying to get things pleasant all the time or make every day a good day. But it's about recognizing where the freedom and the influence is. I can't control every single feeling or thought that comes into my mind, but I can control my relationship to what's happening. This is how karma starts to shift. My mind is how it is right now for so many different reasons, a lot of which is how I've lived my life up until now. And I can say that 8 years of practicing meditation and sitting retreats and really putting some effort into it has helped turn the train in what has been a helpful direction. From days of despair and really nearly killing myself, really dark places, to really having hope. And that came from learning and watching others and absorbing and really paying attention to what it is that I'm practicing in my own mind. And doing this will impact the mind moving forward, the law of karma again. So the Buddha said, still talking about how he became enlightened, as I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of ill will arose in me. I understood thus: this thought of ill will has arisen in me. This leads to my own affliction, to the affliction of others, and to the affliction of both. It obstructs wisdom, it causes difficulty, and it leads away from nibbana. When I considered this, it subsided in me. It's so powerful, right? Like, if I really think about where this train of thought is going, it's not just for my harm, it's worse for people around me. It's not good for anybody. And if I really reflect on that, and I love the language, it subsided in me. I didn't have to force it away or push it away. But when I paid attention more closely, I started to see these harmful patterns of thought and how they lead to affliction. So this is neuroplasticity, which modern neuroscience really backs up, and the brain's ability to change its structure and function in response to experience, attention, and repetition. Training. This mind can be trained the same way the body can be trained in the gym. This mind can be trained through practice, through cultivation. There's this famous saying in the neuroscience community, neurons that fire together wire together. So the more certain neurons fire over time, they start to wire together in the brain, which is really a remarkable thing. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is perception, because I think this is really interesting. Earlier I mentioned how algorithms, they recognize patterns, like the click pattern that I mentioned, right? Third down, clicks there, right? Recognizes that this is a pattern. And that shapes the way that looks in the future. It starts to predict that this is what this person is going to do, shapes the way that feed looks. And so the Buddha taught that perception, the Pali word sanya, it arises based on past conditioning. The way I'm perceiving something isn't just how something is, it's based on conditioning. So I begin to see things as I've been conditioned to see them. I'm a therapist, for those of you that don't know, and I had a big, giant blank wall up in my office. Nothing there. A couple weekends ago, Olivia came in, helped me hang up 12 pieces of art, covered the whole wall, like gallery style. I go into work the next week. Nobody notices or says anything that there's like 12 new pieces of art on the wall. Until there's my Thursday clients, I had 2 artists. They walk in, and the first thing they say is like, damn, you just got a lot of art up. It looks cool. And I thought that was so interesting, right? An artist who's trained to and this is not to diss my clients who didn't notice it, right? Like, they're here to talk about their challenges. They have other things on their mind other than the art that's on my walls. But just noticing how people's minds are shaped by what they pay attention to. And how quickly that, when you're walking in this room, it's not just a room. Oh, wow, there's actually art or trees or whatever it is that one pays attention to. It shapes the world that we see. And also self-view. There's this thing I've noticed for myself that happens, like the attendance of this group fluctuates, those of you who could come. Sometimes there's 4 of us here, sometimes it's a larger room. And I watch what my mind does is it pins my performance last week on how many people came the next week. Performance, right? Like, people didn't come back because you sucked, basically. That's what, in the back of my mind is subtly happening at times, right? And it's so ridiculous because it really is so self-centered. Like, it's not acknowledging everybody else has their complete lives happening, so many other things, but no, it's because of you. So that's a perception, and a skewed one of what's happening. So perceptions can be, obviously they're helpful, they're just a natural part of being alive, but they can create distorted perceptions based off of kind of shaky connections at times. And so what mindfulness can do is start to kind of cut through some of this construction, just like right now. It's just like this. Doesn't mean X, Y, or Z. We use noting or labeling sometimes right now. Recognizing it's like this. And what that does is kind of prevents the mind from going off into some of the proliferation. And there's this also deeper level and potential for the mind to really release from attachment altogether. And I think this is where I would say like Buddhist meditation becomes kind of more unique from more traditional psychology, like cognitive behavioral therapy or something like that. Because it says not only cultivating what's good, releasing the attachment to what's bad, but actually at a certain point, release attachment to anything at all. Not needing to hold on to an ego or an identity, and that there's this deeper capacity of the mind to be free. That is really unique to Buddhist teachings. So the practice of discernment is meant to be an empowering teaching. It's meant to be an encouragement that in every moment there's this possibility to respond. And it's one of the most miraculous things about being alive, this capacity to be able to change and shift. In the same way that an algorithm and whatever technology can be influenced, the mind can be inclined in different directions. And neuroplasticity tells us that actually change is natural and we have influence in it. It's actually natural for the mind to keep changing if there's an intentional practice. Viktor Frankl famously said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." It's really, really well said. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. And one of the biggest ways to transform the mind is one of the simplest teachings and the first teaching that the Buddha always gave to people, even before meditation, which is generosity. In a world that's fueled by greed and gain and more, offering time, lifting each other up, it's not only good for the world, but it's good for the mind. It reduces attachments to me, to mine, to grasping, and it recognizes this kind of interdependence and interconnection. And that's a big part of what we're trying to do here and cultivate here, is to try to create a space that is fueled by kindness, generosity, interdependence, and not by greed and not by gain. So I really appreciate everybody being here, and particularly those who also want to stick around and find out ways to help out. And we're really starting to expand what we're offering and trying to figure out how to support the community as well.